When people ask us how we break a story, it's kind of like asking, how do you fall in love? There are a million different ways. You know where you have to end up. You have to end up with 3 acts. Because it's television, there's commercials, we have 4 acts. But really it's a 3-act structure of a beginning, a complication, and a resolution. And it can come from anything. The best way to do it is to not have pressure. If you feel you must have a story, you'll never get one. When people ask me how it feels to see it go from an idea to 44 minutes on screen, 60 with commercials, it is living the dream. I always say it's better than a real job, but it is truly a dream come true.
Start just by all getting in the room, whoever's not on set or not writing at the time. And we start a couple different ways. We either start with a world. If not that, then we start with maybe a personal story that we want to tell. And whatever the crime is, we want it to come organically from whatever personal story is, or vice versa. And we just start shooting around ideas.
In the writer's room, there are many ways we can go about breaking a story. There are no set rules. Sometimes we actually have maybe a 1-line concept that Ann Donahue, our executive producers, come up with, or many times we just set out and just start talking. A lot of times you get, many sick minds in a room and things just naturally devolve from there.
Once we pretty much agree on the world, we'll put up some broad strokes, kind of some obligatories of the story up on the board. We've got like 4 big white boards that we put all of our stories on.
There's kind of no room for no at the beginning. You just do a lot of what if, and building off somebody else's idea, and you go, oh my God, what if, a snake eats a girl? And then you do it.
Sometimes we'll just hit the ground running. We'll get a teaser and a great idea of just something that will really pull the audience in. Sometimes we'll just know the beginning and end and fill in the middle. That's kind of the fun part of it. When we get into that room, there's just no telling where the story might head us.
The story is the most fundamentally important thing that this show does, and the mystery exists exclusive of what you're able to inject within it. It's sort of like you need to build a house, and then you can furnish it, and the furnishing is sort of like what the characters are doing within it, but the structure needs to hold, and it needs to be visually engaging, it needs to be functional, and it needs to be sound.
It's something that obviously is going to be sexy Miami, something that, people are going to be excited about. And I think that's one of the great things that we've done on this show, particularly in our stories, is capturing kind of that magic of Miami initially that essentially hooks people in.
We want to get into the actual case in some great, scary way, and we try to do it by sort of manipulating people's fears. So we'll take something that people are very afraid of, or a nightmare or something like that, and then we will make that the start of the episode. So we just hit people between the eyes.
We generally bring Ann in early, pitch her, tell her this is what we're thinking. She can look at us and say, you're insane. Or she can get on board, and she always has a really strong opinion, which is wonderful.
I always know when it's a good story when there's tension. And I'm not sure how it resolves, but I think, wow, because I step in and out of being the writer and then being the audience. And the biggest sin for me is to bore.
How are you feeling?
Much better now that I'm out of the hospital, but he's not letting me go home.
I know. The shooter from this morning, Marisol, has escalated to home invasion. We think they're turning on each other. He was found dead at your house today.
What do I do?
I want you to stay at my place till this is over.
Anne has come up with kind of a trilogy of things to happen over the course of Horatio's, career. And the first 3 years were spent on his brother. And then the next 3 years, his arc is his past. And then the next 3 years will be something completely different. So that, in terms of an entire arc for the whole show, is kind of loosely mapped out.
Here we go.
And then other things are plugged in as we go. So these personal stories are really best when they come just kind of naturally out of something.
How do you decide what the story isn't is really how you do a story. And you hang on to a formula It's a spine, and that's, you have to have high points, confusion, revelation, anger, and then resolution. Just say with this case, on episode 19, we know that we want to have Horatio really get involved with the character of Marisol, who is Eric Delco's sister. How can you do that? How can you get a couple together on a show that is a procedural forensic cop show? Well, have that woman be in trouble.
Well, we were first going to just dealing with Marisol's cancer. We were thinking, well, let's see how someone deals with that. And we talked about, well, she's not just about going to chemo, and she's not just about doing that, and that's kind of all we've really learned about her. So we thought, what if she goes to a support group and it gets robbed? So we kind of tossed that around for a while, and then we thought, do we really want to go there? Do we really want to victimize the victims?
Marisol, Eric Delco's sister, has now kind of taken a greater role in the show as sort of a fulcrum upon which our personalities turn. And it's also very human, what's happening to her and the dealings between two people who work together. One is the boss dating the girl, one is the brother. And so we wanted to sort of investigate her world more. And obviously, the idea started with a cancer support group getting robbed, and then we realized that that's a horrible downer.
My poor writers, the more they worked at it, the more unappetizing it was, because this is CSI Miami. And so to see a cancer group sitting around a circle, it's antithetical to what the show is. So we spent 3 days on the wrong way into the story, thanks to me. And now they found the right way in, which is to do it that she is robbed at a spa. Already, I'm more interested because that just speaks of Miami. And we're through 2 acts of our building structure. And as we're working, we have someone typing, and we're getting there.
Once you have an episode broken, and you know that, you're really following a string of evidence. It's definitely a strong component to the franchise. Research.
Research affects the script in that the second we're in the story process, we need to research that. Also, sometimes you're just researching to come up with a story. The salient point is to always be reading and learning.
We pretty much read anything we can, and things will pop up out of nowhere. You'll be just reading some goofy website and you realize they make flip-flops with a beer can opener on the back of the heel. And you think, oh, we can use that.
Basically, my job comes into the process the second they start breaking. Any questions they have while they're trying to break, where they come up with a forensic question or anything, I come into play of having to answer their questions and finding out anything they need to know.
Sometimes we will have the research already, and we'll kind of go in with a pitch based on something fascinating that we've read and explored and collected data on. Other times we'll come in and we'll have ideas just in general about a story and what we think would be an interesting story for Miami. And then what we do is we look for the research, and if the research validates what we already have as far as story, then we'll roll with it. If it doesn't and it's incorrect, then we have to rejigger the story, because one of the ideas of this show that kind of guides us is that if the research isn't going to bear out the story, then we have to rethink that piece of it, and kind of make sure that everything is valid when it comes to that type of research.
I think the CSIs, and certainly our show that I can speak for, are one of the best research shows on TV, because we're constantly on the phone. We have a full-time researcher, plus he probably has 1 million contacts, so we're always on the phone. And even when you have your research in front of you, often when you're writing the episode, you'll want some technical term, or you'll want something in addition. So you're pretty much till that episode's being shot, there's still research being done and getting the right techniques, the right instrumentation, the right everything. So it's a very big part of our show.
I mean, there are some hitches of where I'll do a bunch of research and answer a bunch of questions, and then they decide, well, we want to go a complete different direction. It is basically starting all over again. But with the research I've already done, I still hold on to that, because you never know next season, 2 seasons from now, when something like that might come up again, and then I have that in hand, and makes my job a whole lot easier.
We usually work on an outline for about 3 days and get something on the board, and then Anne comes in and looks at it, and she steers us, and we reshape it for another day, maybe 2. And then, right after, the writer's sent free. It usually takes about a week to write a script. A lot of times we write them with partners, and sometimes it's even more of a crunch. Sometimes we have 3 days. And then after that, we rewrite.
We'll revise it. We're getting pretty good at it. Usually the revision is accepted. And then whoever's writing the episode will get sort of the mandate to go and just do it, which is the most exciting and the most terrifying moment of every script, is when you just sit with that outline, you think, I have to turn this into the 60 pages that 60 people look at and will spend the next 8 days of their life helping to make real.
I don't think the general public really understands how many people it takes in a production to make this show happen. It does start in the writer's room. A story is developed, a script is written, it goes out to department heads. There are questions that they ask that obviously cause you to rethink things that you have done. There's also production needs. Fortunately for us on this show, we have a producer, Don Tardino, and his staff that are absolute yes men. They always look at everything from how can we make this even better? How can we make this bigger? So leaving the writing process and getting out there into the prep process is pretty amazing on this show.
Our show airs every Monday night at 10 o'clock, and our fan base expects a certain quality, and we never want to disappoint. So how that works against us is we get a script that's probably outside our realm and probably something that maybe we shouldn't try to touch on. Our whole crew embraces it and goes for it and tries to produce this feature on a weekly basis, and they don't want to fail. The biggest challenge is fitting in an 8-day shooting schedule where a feature, which might be 2 hours long, could have up to 60 days to shoot this, and we're trying to do it in 8 days.
So the beginning part of the prep period is you're handed a script. It's kind of up to the AD to break that down. By that, we take the script, figure out what we're going to shoot on location, what we're going to shoot here at the stage. You work with the producers, with the production designer, what we're going to build, what we're not going to build. You work with the director in terms of the way they want things shot. If you need to have more than a normal amount of time in order to complete a sequence. You take that material, you digest it, and then you got to quickly communicate everything that's going to be needed to every single department so that things are ready.
When the director gets the script or production gets the script, you get involved with the writer, and then at that moment you move on in terms of you may want to change a few things. You want to take this scene and have it play in a different location, or cut this in half and mix things up. And somehow it's based purely on the creative decisions between us and the writer, or it can also be driven by location needs, etc., etc.
The first thing I'll do is I'll break down a script into some form of a shooting schedule with logistics on what locations I'm going to be looking for, what do I think I'm going to build, because some of the locations that we choose on the show, they're either practical, which means we go out to the city of Long Beach or somebody's house and film, or we build it on stage here. And our construction crew needs as much time as possible to build that. So we try to make that determination as quickly as possible and put all this into action, because every minute counts.
Production design is something, most people think that it's more or less just building the sets, this kind of thing, but actually as a production designer, you're far more responsible for maintaining the overall look of the project, in this case the look of the show, everything from the sets, the colors, making sure the costumes go with the sets, go with the locations, go with the items that are inside, so everything from props, set dressing, scenery, and down the line.
Fred executes the design. I work between the departments, making sure that everything is running smoothly, that's being done up to a particular standard, and that his vision is being seen through.
We're pretty specific here. One of the things that we try to do with CSI Miami is that we look at it as a vacation, 1 hour vacation every week. So, it's always daytime, so we try to incorporate those colors. The greens work really well, from South Beach, Miami. You've got the greens, you've got certain shades of blue that come in. And also, too, we really try to incorporate more of a modern feel. So it's a textured thing with concrete, steel, glass, anything that's just really high-end, feel to it that you can obviously pump a lot of the warm amber sunlight through. So, again, amber and the green and the blue and the different textures off of, metal, glass, and concrete. So.
You're going to hear almost every department, and even at the production meetings, there's a real sensibility about making things beautiful, making it sexy.
Very sexy.
And that's pretty much a thread that goes throughout the entire show.
The operative word, I don't know if you've heard it here yet, is sexy. Miami is sexy. So everyone is sexy. And when I get a script, I sit down and read it and then figure out what exactly is going on in it. And then with that, then we'll start pulling apart the pieces. For this show specific, in this episode, there's a lot of different details that are going into it. Because of the spa, we have to worry about what they're wearing in the spa. What do people actually wear in spas? Well, they wear a robe. What are they going to wear under the robe, since in the teasers we see the gunmen come in and they're supposedly with no clothes on. So what are we going to do with that? Put them in bathing suits so that the whole beginning of the show isn't just naked people, because you can't do that on TV. So it's like those little details you think about that have to go into preparing for it, and then once we work that out, then we'll start looking to see what kind of clothes and where we're going to go get the clothes. So we're here in the wardrobe trailer for CSI Miami, and I wanted to show you what we did in our traveling closet, because that's really what this is. It's a big, huge truck filled with clothes. Each actor has their own section, their own closet, and we just make sure we keep everything really organized so that it's fast and easy and no confusion.
When we do our location work, the challenging factors there is, first of all, if you're looking for a house, we might want to look at 10 houses. Well, we have to call up and see if people are home, if they want us filming there. Then we have to get approval from their neighborhood as well as the city. And then there's a study that goes on to see how do we affect the surrounding neighborhood. Is it a traffic concern? Are we going to be closing certain businesses by filming there? And again, all this has to be done in an 8-day prep schedule. And sometimes working out those logistics is extremely difficult.
Based on schedule, budget, timing, and et cetera, we put it all together and go out there and try to find what we need to find practically. We're supposed to have it 7 days, and usually we have about a week to prep an 8-day episode. And beyond that, we also have to deal with the logistics, the practicalities, the budget, the permits, the cost factors. A lot of times we only have 2 or 4 hours of a day at one location, so we need additional locations nearby that we can move to. But we film a 12-hour day, and we have X amount of pages. The script's about 60 pages, which we have 8 days to shoot. So yes, we do need to combine our locations. And our company, as all film companies are quite big, you can't really move all the way across town. You have to keep things relatively close. So that does make it a challenge, but it's also, we have to be creative and think outside the box to make spaces work that you wouldn't think otherwise in working.
The most amazing thing about, I think, writing on a show like CSI Miami is that there aren't a lot of limits to what you can imagine. You write it and you don't often think that it's actually going to be made and done, and it's never boring to me. Even the scenes between people, you don't realize that they're going to act it. That's probably the best part about writing, is seeing it be made.
It's just amazing to kind of capture something in your mind, and then when it's played out that way on film, it's an indescribable feeling, really.
People said to us when we did the spin-off of Miami, "Oh, aren't you worried it'll be like Vegas?" And we said no, because Vegas is its own animal and Miami's its own animal, and there's nowhere on earth like Miami. And I'm very proud of our writers in that each writer, no matter if it's story editor or executive producer, follows the script through and works with our crew to produce it.